All right, final review part 2, the internet and social media. We're going to go through the study guide, and if you want to follow along in your slideshows, it's still up on Canvas, so you can do that. So what is the internet, and why is this not in focus? There we go. The internet is a global network of interconnected computers that communicate freely and share and exchange information. So you can just shorten that to a network of interconnected computers. One of the theories that how it developed, both theories relate to the military. One theory is that it was invented during the Cold War because the Air Force wanted to maintain the military's ability to transfer information if there was an enemy attack. And the other theory was the internet was built to protect national security if there was a nuclear attack. The originator of the computer. And how does his machine work? Charles Babbage. And his machine worked by being steam driven. The first electronic digital computer, and why was it built? That was the Colossus, and it was built during World War II to break Germans' secret codes. All right, binary code. That's computer code, and that's that code that's made up of ones and zeros. The first full-service electronic computer, and when was it invented? The first full-service electronic computer was the ENIAC. And it was introduced in 1946. How big was it? It was 18 feet tall, 80 feet long, and weighed 60,000 pounds. The first government agency to buy UNIVAC, which was another computer, that was bought by the Census Bureau. Early military applications of the internet developed by ARPA. Basically, what they wanted to do was produce a plan that enabled the U.S. military to maintain command over its missiles and planes if a nuclear attack knocked out conventional means of communication. So like if there's a nuclear attack and like all your towers and phones were destroyed, the internet would still be there so that the military could still control launching its missiles and its planes. A packet switch network. You don't have to get too technical about it, but basically short form is it's when you break down data into little packets and then you send those packets from one computer to another. When did ARPANET go online? So that happened in 1969. The first email program was created by Ray Tomlinson in 1972, and the famous symbol it used was the @ symbol. Who coined the term internet? I will accept either Vinton Cerf or Robert Kahn. The first two internet services were Usenet and Bitnet. All right, a host is a computer that's linked to the internet. When did the World Wide Web launch? That launched in 1992. Today, how many hosts are there? There's over 100 million hosts, and over 3.7 billion people use the internet. Which company first provided mainframe and mini computers? IBM. Who do they sell them to? Primarily businesses, schools, and universities. What invention allowed the production of PCs and microcomputers? The semiconductor. Who were the big three PC founders we discussed in class, and what companies did they found? So the names you want to know are going to be Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Stephen Wozniak. You're going to want to know that Bill Gates goes with Microsoft and Steve Jobs and Stephen Wozniak go with Apple. What year did Microsoft contract with IBM? That happened in 1981. And then, trying to keep track of my questions here. Which Apple computer was specifically designed for personal use? That was the Apple II. How does a LAN differ from a WAN? So a LAN is a local area network that connects two or more computers. They're often in the same building, whereas a WAN is a wide area network and it connects several computers in different locations. So like a LAN is how computers in Elif Hall are connected, but a WAN is how computers in Elif Hall are connected to the computers in the library. What is an ISP, and be able to name two of them? So ISPs are internet service providers. So it's basically where you get your internet from. So Suddenlink and CenturyLink, Comcast and Verizon are all examples of ISPs. How many emails are sent in a day? About 295 billion emails. And 89% of them are spam. Okay. The difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. So the internet is that network of networks. It's basically the big thing in the sky. It's the thing that connects everything. The World Wide Web is how you get on there. So the World Wide Web is not the internet. The internet is bigger than the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web is just how you get onto the internet. Who invented HTTP? Tim Berners-Lee developed HTTP, and he gave it to the world for free. Okay, a server. A server is a wire-to-net host. A server is something that gives users access to the internet. So a server is like the box you need to get on the internet. URL, it stands for Uniforce Resource Locator, but it's basically the website's address. So like Lincoln's URL is lincolnu.edu. How many URLs are there? There are about 30 trillion unique URLs. The top two level domain names, and how did they differ? So there was .com, which was for businesses, and .org, which was for nonprofits. A browser, what is a browser, and be able to name two? So a browser is a program that you use to download and you view web files. And so some of the popular browsers are Google Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and Microsoft Edge. A search engine. A search engine is something that allows you to navigate the internet simply by entering a search word. So the best known search engine, of course, is Google. But there's also Bing and Yahoo. A home page is the entryway to a website. The most frequently used platform for email. Most people get their emails on their phone. What percentage of mobile web access is done through apps? 90% of mobile web usage is done by apps. So 90% of people that are on the internet, not on Safari, they're on apps. The first social media site was classmates.com. Yes, that came even before MySpace. When did Facebook launch? It launched at Harvard in 2004, but I will take the global answer, which was 2006. The percentage of people who use social media that are on Facebook, 90%. So if you're on if you're on social networks, 90% of you are still on Facebook. The second most visited website after Google is Facebook. Sometimes it's YouTube though, so I'll take either YouTube or Facebook. Okay, Twitter. When did Twitter launch? Twitter launched in 2006. And Twitter's format is microblogging, which is posted of up to 140 characters. How many tweets are sent in a day? About 500 million tweets are sent in a day. Name at least 2 other social media sites. So there's so many. So Snapchat, Pinterest, Cafe Mom, Black Planet, Foursquare, TikTok, Flickr. I mean, there's tons of them. What is used more, social media or email? So it used to be email, but as of 2009, it was social media. What percent of Americans belong to at least one social media site? 70% of Americans belong to at least one social media site. What company did Facebook buy in 2012 for $1 billion? Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion. What 2 needs does the dual factor model of social media use fill? So, it fills the need to belong and the need for self-presentation. What are the 2 hypotheses of self-presentation? That's idealized virtual identity and extended real life. I want you to be able to kind of define them. So idealized virtual identity hypothesis says that social media users tend to show idealized characterizations that do not reflect who they really are. So they try to show their best self and sometimes exaggerate and lie. And that's not really how they are. Whereas extended real life hypothesis says that we use social media to communicate our actual identities, how we actually are. So Facebook depression. Facebook depression is depression that develops when preteens and teens spend a great deal of time on social media sites such as Facebook and then begin to exhibit classic signs of depression. Again, this is an official diagnosis. Effective forecasting error. Effective forecasting error is when there's a discrepancy between the expected and actual emotions generated by Facebook activity. So you go on Facebook and you expect to make it happy, and it actually makes you sad. Facebook envy and 2 triggers of it. Facebook envy is resentment of happiness others show on social media. And the key triggers tend to be travel and leisure, social interactions, and happiness. What age group is experiencing an increased sense of social isolation? That's the 18 to 33-year-olds. Okay, so most mediums have an audience. What does the internet have? The internet doesn't have an audience. The internet has users. It got blurry again. I'm trying to fix it. I'm moving this around a lot, but it's kind of heavy. Okay. So television has an audience, internet has users. How does a user differ from a typical audience member? Users can talk back. And users have content control. So how does the relationship between a user and internet differ from the relations between a traditional medium and an audience? Again, users can talk back, and they actually have a way to easily communicate with content providers. So a digital native is someone who was born and has always had had the internet. So it's someone who's never known a world without the internet. Two arguments against controlling the internet and two arguments for it. So arguments for controlling the internet, arguments for the controlling the internet would be that there's no central location in the internet, there's no on-off button, and that anonymity can be a breeding ground for abuse. Arguments against control of the internet is that the internet is a democratic media, and that anonymity offers protection, giving it a voice to those who would otherwise be silenced. And then the big one is the First Amendment. That's a big argument against internet control. A flash mob or a smart mob? Those are geographically dispersed groups connected only by communications technology. Crowdfunding is using digital technology to solicit donations from a large number of people for a cause or project. Slacktivism. That's the individually inspired online activism that often seems to require little effort. Blogs are regularly updated online journals of commentary. The site that's the most trusted way to find news is Google. Smear forward. Smear forward is when misinformation is loosed online and almost impossible to catch and correct. So some examples of misinformation are the Procter & Gamble Roundup campaign, Starbucks, and of course Jenny McCarthy and the anti-vax movement. Fake news. Inaccurate internet news stories designed to deceive and be spread. 2 ways to protect yourself from fake news. Well, first of all, there are libel laws and fraud prosecution. But you should also be wary of unfamiliar web addresses, anonymous messages, and suspicious origins. You can also turn to factcheck.org and snopes.com. What did the Child Pornography Prevention Act of 1996 do? The Child Pornography Act of 1996 forbidden the online transmission of any image that appears to be of a minor engaging in sexually explicit conduct. The Supreme Court overturned it in 2002, saying that it was detrimental to legitimate movie producers or book publishers. The Children's Internet Protection Act of 2000 required computers in schools and libraries to have filtering software, and that was upheld in 2003. What is a copyright meant to do? A copyright is meant to ensure that those who create content are financially compensated for their work. Do copyright rules apply to the internet? Technically, yes. Institutions that get copyright exemption, those are mostly schools. Fair use is instances in which copyrighted material may be used without permission or payment, such as taking brief quotes from a book. It applies only to the internet. So fair use would be like if you're a news reporter and you're reviewing a book, you can take a snippet from the book and show it on the TV without giving credit to the author, because you're just taking a very small portion of it to illustrate a point. Examples of fair use, anytime you see a show where it like plays clips from other shows, like I don't know if it's on even now anymore, but Talk Soup used to be on, and they would take like clips from TV that week and show you like what people had done and make fun of it. Is our email supposed to be private? email is supposed to be private unless it's unless it's like an email service you get from like a business or a school. So like my LinkedIn email is not private. LinkedIn can look at my emails anytime. But like my Hotmail account, yes, that is supposed to be private. The willing suspension of privacy is the idea that we will exchange basic personal information with a website for compelling content. And 1/3 of Americans are okay with it. Data balance is the massive collection and distillation of consumer data gathered by a digital trail. So it's spying on us online. What is one flaw critics of the Consumer Privacy Bill of Rights point out? So the Consumer Privacy Bill of Rights is basically, it's a voluntary guideline that suggests that people can put a do not track button on their web pages. The flaw of it is that right now, at least in America, it's not a law, it's a voluntary guideline. So companies don't have to put a do not track button on their web pages. It's only an option to do so. Be able to explain in one paragraph how European privacy laws differ from those in the U.S. and whether the U.S. should adopt some of them, why or why not. So basically, European privacy laws are more stringent than U.S. Privacy laws. European privacy laws require internet companies to get explicit user consent before using their data. So you have to like sign a consent form for them to use your data. And it also gives citizens the right to be forgotten. That is, they have the right to go on a website and basically have all the information that website has collected about them erased forever. So that's how it differs. Should the U.S. adopt some of those policies, and why or why not? There's no right or wrong answer there. That's just your opinion. An RFID chip is a grain of sand-sized microchip and antenna embedded in consumer products that transmits a radio signal. One pro of an RFID chip is that it allows companies to track their products. So it gives you ease of movement. That's why like you can go to an Amazon store and just pick an item off the shelf and walk out without having to check out. So one pro of it is that it's convenient. One con of it is that it could be considered an invasion of privacy. AR is alternate reality, and it allows people to point their smartphones at people or places and be linked to hundreds of different websites that has information about those people or places. Cloud computing is the storage of data on a third-party environment. So anytime you like take a picture or a video, it goes to the cloud. A cookie. A cookie is an identifying code added to a computer's hard drive by a visited website. Net neutrality is the idea that all ISPs, including cable MSOs, should allow free and equal flow of all web traffic. So they're basically saying that your internet provider can't slow down traffic to, say, Fox News, but then speed up traffic to CNN. It's basically saying that no matter what website you visit, it should be the same speed. Be able to briefly describe the Arab Spring in one country that saw a change in leadership due to it. So Arab Spring was when people gathered together on social media and decided to overthrow a government. So this happened most notably in Egypt and Libya. Okay, the technology gap. The technology gap is the widening disparity between the communication technology haves and have-nots. So the people that have access to the internet and the people that don't. The digital divide is the lack of technological access among specific groups of Americans, specifically people with less education, people with disabilities, low income, those who live in rural areas, Hispanics and African Americans, less affluent, elderly people with disabilities. So that answered question 91, the groups that have lower usage rates. The knowledge gap, and one thing the government is trying to do to fill it. So the knowledge gap is the growing differences in knowledge, civic activity, and literacy between better informed and less informed Americans. So the idea is that if you have access to the internet, you're going to be better informed, and if you don't, you're going to be less informed. So one thing the government is trying to do to fix it is they're trying to put computers in schools and other rural areas. And some governments are implementing municipal broadband. Okay, 2 principles of the Declaration of Internet Freedom. So the Declaration of Internet Freedom has 5 principles. I'd like you to know 2 of them. So there should be no censorship of the internet. There must be universal access to the internet. There must be freedom to connect, communicate, create, and innovate over the internet. There must be protection for new technologies and innovators whose innovations are abused by other users. And there must be privacy rights and the ability for users to control how information about them is used. Be able to explain in 1 paragraph whether you think the internet should be treated as a basic human right, why or why not. So basically, the Declaration of Internet Freedom does view the internet as a human right. Do you agree with that or disagree with that? Why or why not? Again, that's just your opinion, but your argument should include the principles. Like there must be no censorship of the internet. So if you agree with that, say, I agree that the internet is a basic human right and there should be no censorship of the internet. Or you could say, I disagree. I think there should be censorship of the internet and here's why. So when you are making your argument, you must refer specifically to the 5 principles of the Declaration of Internet Freedom. You don't have to do all 5. You can just do 2. Okay, so that is your review on the social media and internet section of your final exam. So there'll be 2 sections. There'll be the television section and the internet section. I will post the final exam to Canvas on next Monday, which will be the 14th, and you will have that whole week to do it and turn it in. You can either email it to me, you can scan it and send it to me, you can take photos and send it to me, or you can actually write your answers in Canvas and send them to me. And I'll further explain that once I post the final exam. I'll include a video that kind of goes over the ways that you will have to get that to me. So that's your review. I also wanted to tell you real briefly about your final assignment, which I think is kind of a fun little thing that we did in previous classes. So your final assignment is you're going to create a fictional social media presence for a character. So I want you to pick a fictional character. It can be someone from a TV show, it can be someone from a movie, it can be someone from literature, or it can be like a pop culture character. It could be like a cartoon mascot, just a fictional character. Don't pick someone so obscure, though, that no one will know who they are. So it should be someone who's readily identifiable and like who can be looked up on Wikipedia or Wikia. Okay. You're going to create accounts for this character on 2 platforms. So you can give them a Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Flickr, Pinterest, or LinkedIn. But you have to do 2 of them. Okay. Whatever accounts you create should include a picture. So your character is going to need a profile picture and a little bit of background information, bio on your character. You can have some fun here and you can kind of make up some stuff if it's a character that doesn't have a lot of history or biography. Like, let's say you pick the Golden Grams bear. We don't know much about the Golden Grams bear, so you can make some stuff up. But if it's an actual fictional character that has some backstory, then you need to be pretty true to it. Oh, also a hint, when you're creating these accounts, a lot of these are copyrighted, so you might have to alter their names just slightly to be able to create those accounts. So on one of your platforms, you must have at least 20 pictures and 10 posts or entries. Now you can combine those. So if you have 20 posts and you put pictures in 10 of them, that counts. Your profile will count as 1 picture. So if you have a platform, the student who has the platform with the most followers or friends, the most people that you know are engaged on it, they're going to get 10 extra credit points. The student whose post received the most comments, likes, or reactions will also get 10 extra credit points. So that's not combined, that's single. So a single post or tweet or video that has the most comments or likes will get 10 extra credit points. Other ways to receive some extra credit points, not necessarily 10, but some extra credit points, is if you do videos, if you create events, or if you reference your classmates' pages and tell your followers to visit their platforms, you'll get extra credit that way. Both platforms should include some activity, even if it's just retweeting. So you can't just put up a picture and a bio. There's got to be some activity on there. You will get bonus points if you have others reacting to and commenting on your posts, photos, videos. So encourage like your friends and family to get on there and just like post something or like something or comment on something. You'll also get extra points if you engage with your classmates' platforms. The two platforms you choose should direct traffic to each other. So like, let's say you have a Facebook page and a Twitter. On the Facebook page, you should have a link to your Twitter account, and on a Twitter handle, a link to your Facebook page. And then what you're going to do is after you've created these platforms, you can play with them for like a week and then send me the links so that I can access them. That's all you have to physically turn in is 2 links. You don't have to like type up a paper. I may need you to add me as a friend so I can see your account. So like if you create a Facebook account, I'm going to have to send you a friend request so that I can get on there. So be on the lookout for that. And this is worth 150 points. So again, all you have to do is send me the 2 links to access your social media presence. There's not actually a written paper. It's just whether you put posts and photos and stuff. So like instead of sitting down and writing a 5-page paper, make 20 posts that are like 1 sentence and maybe put a couple pictures up. That's really all you have to do. So it's just a fun little thing to use social media and see how they react to each other, and also see what kind of traffic and following you can drum up when you're helping your classmates out. So again, if there's any questions about this, please text me, call me, email me. Don't just be out there feeling like you're all by yourself. I am still here, and I will do my best to get in contact with you. And even if you just want me to be on the phone with you while you're doing something, I will do that. I will hold your hand if you need me to. So I've really enjoyed having you guys in class, and I hope that you enjoy this final assignment, and I expect that you will all do well on the final exam. Thanks a lot, guys, and I hope I see a bunch of you next semester.